I should have some hydration by me because I'm really dry mouthed right now. Give me a second here, but welcome to week 5 of head drawing. Today we're going to be focused on animation head drawing and animated character head drawing. So for those of you who have been following these classes, oh, by the way, don't worry if you're new here. If you're a beginner, what I'm going to be going over tonight is actually going to be a return to simplicity in some ways. But we're going to be looking at animated character heads, animated character head designs, and how to utilize principles of head drawing in creating animated characters and whatnot. I did a very, very quick, like really crappy demonstration of kind of the mechanics you will be playing with when you do your own head drawings and your own head designs and stuff. Like I did this really very quick, not really too concerned without getting a perfect design thing of my Spacedad character. I don't have a finalized design for him yet, so this is just kind of be throwing some generic shapes together that use the basic rules of what we're going to be using tonight. A few of the basic rules that we're going to be using tonight, instead of really complicated systems of drawing, we're mostly going to be using this. A sphere. Most of the time you'll be creating an ellipse inside the sphere, kind of like this. And then you decide which of these is facing outside, or if it's just straight on like this, is it just cutting across like that, or something. But this is the eye. This is basically going to be like the eye line. Then you decide where the center line is on your head, like so. And from there you make some eyes that are resting either on top of or below the eye line that are kind of pasted to the head. Most of the time they're going to be resting on the eye line. It's very Disney character style. There are some characters that have the eyes resting below the eye line, like Spacedad, for example, has his eyes resting below the eye line because I was trying to experiment with that. Usually long skinny headed characters with big jaws usually have the eyes resting down below, something like this. Oh, but the other thing that you're going to be using tonight is you're also going to be using a double ellipse approach, like this. For more realistic characters, I was kind of showing that off a little bit on Spacedad here. For more realistic characters, this approach generally works pretty well, and it also works for just drawing. When you're trying to quick sketch realistic human heads from photographs or from real life, like this kind of approach. As another simplified approach that Steve Houston shows off, and also the Aladdin movie model sheets also use for Aladdin, is this kind of sailboat head that simplifies the overall shape. But I think this would not be good to necessarily use until you kind of wrapped your head around how this works, because you can kind of visualize the 3D forms a little easier with this. There's other stuff too, you might be familiar with Cynic's video on using kind of a face mask sort of thing, and you can kind of use that too if you like. But the main thing you're going to be utilizing, the main two things you're going to be utilizing this evening is like this, from different angles and stuff. Just a little C curve for the neck. You might draw some of the upper body and stuff. And you're going to be using, of course, the head sphere with the eye line and stuff, or whatever. But you're going to be using that in conjunction with the other things you'd be drawing on the facial features, like, well, this method is great for just like getting realistic heads and including the jaw. Mind you, the eye line is like, the eye line on a realistic head is about like halfway down the overall shape of the head. So keep that in mind. You can kind of guesstimate where it is when you do these quick sketches. Remember things like perspective and stuff. Also, another thing I want to mention about cartoony character heads like Donald Duck or whatever, there's a lot of times you'll see, like in Disney animated films and even in anime stuff, you'll see, especially on faces, but also on bodies, you'll see a lot of this thing called forced perspective. Let's see if I can get a good angle with Donald here, or whatever. There's a Walt Stansfield note about this that I just wanted to mention. So a lot of times on Disney characters, you'll notice when they're like standing in 3/4, especially like Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and stuff, you'll see like their eyes will kind of do that sort of thing, where the one over there is smaller than the other. What's actually happening there is there's a faked form of extreme forced perspective going on there, to kind of create some more illusion of acceptable depth to the character's face. I'm not going to even try drawing Donald Duck on model, but basically like these are like everything in his face and body is kind of following a loose rules of this kind of forced perspective. You'll often see that a lot on, like, let me give an example of like how it might work on like if I did Spacedad like this. See like a quickie real quick. I don't really have his proportions or his model down right yet, so just bear with me. This is not going to be even on model to what I drew up above, but I'm just trying to show off an example of how this would work. Yeah, forced perspective differs a little bit from regular perspective in that, like, it's not really realistic perspective. It's kind of just like faked for a design, for sake of design. To give a good example of that, if you've ever seen the intro to the JoJo Battle Tendency, CG, the Battle Tendency opening of the show, in order to like kind of stylize the posing of the characters, they had to do a lot of stuff like this, where like that's how it looks to the camera, that's how it looks in the actual model. This broken ass joint. That's kind of what's going to be going on with forced perspective. If you were to turn one of these faces around when it's in forced perspective, it would look really weird. But it still follows and understands the rules of perspective, and there's going to be a little. You can try playing with inserting bits and pieces of it when you're drawing tonight. As a rule of thumb, just like try to maybe throw up a really quick forced perspective grid or whatever. The other things you can do this evening, there's going to be some of the we're going to be copying from animation model sheets, and we're going to be using real head photos and stuff. Oh yeah, that example was really small, but oh well. You can Google it yourself. Just Google like Battle Tendency CG or something, and it'll show the image that I'm talking about. But anyway, the kind of stuff. So But the head drawing tonight for anime characters, like say you start with like a head sphere and some eyes on it, and you want to add like a jaw, you can pretty much do whatever you want. I'll bring up some examples that I have from Preston Blair and some other things that I've collected. And there's a whole bunch of reference of like juicy stuff I yanked from ArtStation that is worth looking at and practicing from, along with like lots and lots of character model sheets. But like generally speaking, like your basic head construction or your basic character invention when you're doing Disney-ish animated characters, like when you start with this head sphere and some eyes like that, you can do whatever you want. You can make this into like an animal character by just adding a muzzle down below. Like it's almost kind of like if you've ever seen those animatronic Chuck E. Cheese or Rockafire Pizza or whatever, Five Nights at Freddy's kind of stuff, where you almost have like characters with like swappable features built off this kind of sphere, this animatronic head sphere in a way. And of course, like the eyes can change and other things like that too, and so on. But like the basic idea, underlying idea, kind of remains the same. There's of course different approaches to head construction. We'll get into anime approaches in the future in this, but we're going to be this particular session is going to be focused mostly on Western, although some of the stuff we'll be looking at this evening will be also some of the Disney work on by some of the artists that kind of fused anime influences in with the Disney head constructions stuff, which is really interesting to see. Like Big Hero 6 did that, and so did like Frozen and Tangled, among other films. There was a tremendous amount of like 2D animation drawing type stuff that went into those films, even though that they were 3D films. So there's a lot of stuff for us to refer to and reference. But like when you're doing these, like you can also keep in mind the rules of the Loomis head and so on. Like like if you look on this one that I did right here, there's like some of the side plane of the head of like the Loomis heads. There's a little bits of the knowledge of the skull in there. You can even try inserting bits of things like the Riley method if you want to. Like say for example, if I wanted to work out Spacedad's cheeks in the front of his head and stuff, I could throw some Riley method rhythms in there to kind of help me work out some of those things. But the main thing we're going to be concentrating on this evening is pretty simple. It's just that, or this. You can build off these, but this is the thing. This is the foundational thing we're going to be concentrating. These are the two foundational things we're going to be concentrating on. The beep is the drawing app up in the upper left. Should probably put that on maybe longer timer. But in any case, so I'll try to give you a preview of some of the folders we're going to be using tonight. I still need to organize them a little bit, and I'll do that. I'll finish that up before the. I'll finish that up for the break. But let's see here. So here's a whole bunch of stuff I yoinked from ArtStation. Some of it is not. Some of it is not head drawing, but a lot of them include heads. There's at least one person, like this one here, Nose with Glasses, is actually one of our artists, but I really like their posing and some of their expressions and stuff, so I threw it in here for inspiration. But there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of like ArtStation stuff, a large amount from like a few artists in particular, like TB Choi. Here's one of her online class demos that she posted to ArtStation. But yeah, like this stuff, I don't know if I'll necessarily have it on screen because like, but I think I will be sharing. I think I will be sharing the PureRef file so that people can use it themselves. And I'll have it on screen. I'll have it on screen with me, like that so I can see it, but it won't be on stream. Because there's a lot of like there's a lot of stuff in here that is really helpful for me to kind of wrap my head around what I'm trying to do, that I want to kind of have handy. Because like even though these are like fairly rendered and stuff, this is still pretty based on like animated character head construction. A lot of these. So like if you just remove the detail, like these can be stills from if you remove like the overly painterly details, these could be stills from something. Honestly though, with the amount of painterly details that are on some of them, like they wouldn't be too out of place in like a Klaus type film or something these days, with like the post-production stuff that makes the animated character art look like part of the background art. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in here, and I'll try to share this with y'all. But yeah, a lot more TV Tribe class demos stuff. But yeah, so there's that. There's another folder I've got to export real quick of a bunch of stuff I was junking before class, and there's plenty of juicy stuff in this. What I might have us do is I'll probably I'll definitely have us practice from some of the model sheet stuff, but I want to put on the photos and then have you have a bunch of the model sheet stuff handy on your own to refer to, so that like you can kind of like utilize some of the principles of construction when you're breaking down like their head photos and stuff. But I'll show you like let's see, all images. Heads, there we go. But I'll show you what the folder looks like for the animated heads. Now that we got it exported. So there's going to be a bunch of stuff here. There's a simple head construction for Mickey. This actually shows off what I was talking about. There's a little bit of forced perspective on the eyes there, if you notice. And you can see his the placement of his feet and stuff kind of follow those rules of kind of forced perspective and stuff. There's a little bit of glitch text because we were studying glitch text last Saturday. And there's a bunch of stuff from Robert Valley and some stuff from like I forget the name of the artists, but like a few of the artists on Big Hero 6 and Frozen and Tangled and stuff who developed the character designs. Some old school Donald Duck head construction, and this shows off there. You can see the forced perspective thing I'm talking about on Donald's eyes there, and definitely there. You can see the center line there. The bill of his if you notice about Donald Duck, like if it looks kind of like they actually put like normally, which would be the center line at the widest point of the sphere, it's actually moved down below for like placing the bill and the bottoms of the eyes, I think, on him, if I recall. Some stuff from Klaus. This is kind of hard to see though, but you can zoom in on the images there. You can see the head expressions and stuff a lot easier. And this is actually a really good sheet, but you just have to zoom in on it. Yeah, more this stuff from Frozen. I found a bunch of glitch text model sheets, and if you notice, I think there's a little bit of the forced perspective principle going on in the eye on the left here. Always keep construction of the head in mind. Yes. And they're showing off here like how like often on a lot of anime characters, like they don't have flat teeth. At least in the show on glitch text, they don't have flat teeth. They actually have cylindrical teeth that work like this. Here they are showing off like these are flat mouths. You don't want flat mouth shapes. You want rounded mouth shapes that are construction. All the mouths should have dimension of them. They should not look flat. Yes, yes, no, and so on. Yeah, Pinocchio head construction. You can definitely see it here. Look at that. Look, this one they did a little bit of what I'm talking about, where the eye line is a little bit. The eye line is actually a little bit lower than the center. So like Pinocchio would be more like his eye line would be actually down here. And then they make the eyes rest on the eye line. And so on and so forth. But yeah, this is a Preston Blair page here, and it shows off some of the stuff you can get into with, like, well, they show off like a kind of cartoony human head character right there, and humans of course have their own version of an animal muzzle for cartoony human head characters, or even real humans for that matter. Like Preston Blair showing off this very bulbous-cheeked character. But then, like, he's showing off a bunch of anthropomorphic animal characters down below. Some very, like, fun fact about this book, like, the original edition of the book, like, they, there was a bunch of animation that was, like, from Fantasia and, like, from, like, bunch of animation from, like, various, like, Disney and Warner Brothers shorts and stuff. Preston Blair had to, like, redraw a lot of it because it was all, like, you know, copyrighted stuff from the films he worked on. So he wound up having to, like, literally just redraw what he'd drawn previously for in order to reprint the work he'd done. It's a real pain in the ass. But yeah, it's showing off here how you can, on some characters, you can kind of elongate the sphere into kind of an egg shape. Doesn't necessarily always have to be a globe, and you can simplify and create characters from basic shapes, just like playing with, like, massing in different shapes and stuff and seeing what happens if you're trying to go for certain things. You can even fill, like, a page up of random spheres, and then fill up a page up of, and then just add, like, jowls and features to them and stuff, and like make up pages like this for fun. So this is some Robert Valley stuff. His heads are very, very stylized, but they're still based on head construction rules. Robert Valley Motor City stuff. Like, the characters in that show are very, very, very heavily stylized, and they're very graphical, but they still make sense physically. Like, they still turn in space. They make so much sense physically that Titmouse actually innovated a control and flash that predates Toon Boom Harmony. Toon Boom Harmony's master controller and Toon Boom Harmony's other features of, like, they basically made like a tool in Flash, which was innovative at the time, to turn the characters' heads around as if they were like 3D puppets and stuff. So you get this kind of weird effect in the show. It's all over the place now, but for the time, it was really innovative. Like, these 3D puppet character heads that feel a little bit like 3D animation. But yeah, here's a Klaus model sheet. You can't see it here, but I'll try to do a quick draw real quick. Like, they have a bunch of heads lined up on the left there to show the height of the character in terms of head units. And that's very important for your character design, by the way. You want to determine how tall your character is according to its own units of head measurement, so that you can maintain its proportions and volumes, and track its proportions and volumes easier. But essentially, like, the Klaus head is kind of like this, where they have a sphere up top, and the eyes actually rest below the center line. If it was going by, like, kind of like the Pinocchio version of things, then the eye line might actually be down there. But you can see on this, they show off some stuff about, like, head angle and head construction and so on this model sheet. I'll try to upload all this so that everyone can have this stuff handy. Some Arial Glen key animation. Yeah, some more Robert Valley character designs, some more Klaus model designs. I don't know what this is, but this shows off some like very, very like simple characters. Some very, very simple characters to wrap your head around. Some construction from Beauty and the some head construction using Riley method from Beauty and the Beast 2. So it's kind of ridiculously complex, but I mean it can help track the character's face. More Klaus stuff, more Robert Valley. This is stuff from Frozen. I think I have a better version of this image somewhere in here. Some more Robert Valley stuff, some more Klaus stuff. Here's some Loomis. I included a little bit of this because, like, look, to kind of re-emphasize the point that, like, this stuff relates back to traditional head drawing. Like, you can see, like, you could think of what you're seeing up here on the upper left in terms of those two simple ovoid spheres that I was demonstrating. Like, if you can get them tilted in the right direction and kind of feeling like lines are like the lines are wrapping over in the right spots or whatever, then you are pretty much set with your sketch. Yeah, we'll skim through some more of those. I think this is a study from Preston Blair stuff, so I might try to skip over this because this doesn't really show the guts of what I'm talking about, and these aren't as well drawn as Preston's. This is from Paperman, the 3D animated, but the 3D animated short that had like Toon Boom Harmony cleanup and facial expressions done on top of 3D models. So this is a random image I found that shows off some variation in head construction, using more complex 3D shapes to kind of elaborate on the form. And this is, of course, all based on the stuff that this is very close and similar to the kind of stuff we were looking at with like the simple Asaro head and a little bit of like the Riley rhythms. And you can see some skull shaped stuff that we've been doing in the last few weeks in these. Some Hercules stuff for Disney, yeah. Oh yeah, this is Preston Blair stuff in here. So yeah, I'm actually going to upload these to, I'm going to upload all these folders to Google Photos real quick. So give me a sec. I'll take care of that so I can share this stuff with you, and then we're going to start doing some time poses. I want you to have the Google files open. We will do some studies from model sheets too, of course. But the ideal way to do this right now, that I'm going to be doing it this evening, is we're going to be doing several sets of time poses. And I want you to be drawing from the photos, but utilizing some of the stuff that you're seeing in the like the model sheets and the character design things to kind of like riff on what you're seeing, like kind of break it down a bit. And kind of use some of the stuff that I was going over at the beginning of the class with like the spheres and the double ovoids and so on. But here, yeah. All right, so I'm gonna upload the folders now. We are essentially on break at the moment for the next like 5 or so. Okay, Google, set timer 6 minutes. Okay, Google, set timer 6 minutes.
6 minutes, and we're starting now.
So we're essentially on break for the next 6 minutes, and then we're going to be getting this started on some like really meaty head drawing. I may throw some animated character heads into the mix too. I think that would be best. So I'll put some of the stuff that is from this folder in that folder. If it's something that I think is a little useless, I'll skip it. but I have another folder full of head drawing stuff that should mix with this one pretty good. So yeah. All right. So another thing I wanted to mention, there's a film I wanted to share with you. Does anyone here know about the Bulgarian Treasure Planet? So the Bulgarian Treasure Planet is a 1982 film that should not be confused with the Disney film. It's kind of like a piece of outsider art. It's a really bizarre animation, and I'd love to show it on stream, but unfortunately I can't because you know, copyright and whatnot, and I don't want to get joinked or whatever. So I'll link it in chat. Maybe I can show some GIFs from it, but here's a link to a best of from it, and the animation in it is just strange. It's become kind of a darling of animators lately because of just how bizarre it is. And anyway, so I was talking with Toniko Pantoja about the possibility of organizing through the Discord. I don't know if he'll be involved with it, but organizing through the Discord a Bulgarian Treasure Planet reanimated thing. Like, we'll take a segment from Treasure Planet and then like assign a bunch of people different segments of it to animate however they choose. But here, let me see if I can show on stream. Bulgarian Treasure Planet GIF. The GIFs on here will kind of give the general idea of just how bonkers this is. I'm going to bring up the reference focus. There we go. Okay, so just look at this amazing run animation here. Jesus Christ. Like, the characters' heads are always rattling around and stuff. The animation looks like it's like the animation looks like it has nervous tics all the time. The animation looks like a shaky old man's head, like the animation in the film looks like an old man's hand shaking like crazy. See if we can find some more GIFs here. Yeah, I'm afraid to show the actual like video on stream because I don't want to get copyright boinked, but the art in it is really strange. The animation is completely bizarre. Go check it out for yourself. I think the whole film is like up on YouTube too. the scene that this is in is just completely bonkers too. Yeah, like a little psychedelic Bulgarian animation. Anyway, so the animated character heads page should be up. It's not fully done uploading everything just yet, but not everything is uploaded yet to the animation heads thing, so just make sure you refresh your browser every couple minutes or so. But like everything that I had in this folder here that's on the upper left is being uploaded now for your own personal reference. I'm going to restructure the folders real quick so then we can get started on doing our head drawing, timed head drawing poses after the break ends. So I'll just do that real fast. Gotta yoink a couple things real quick. I'm gonna throw the ArtStation heads in, I think. Maybe. Okay, Google, stop. And no, actually, I'll hold off on that because I'm kind of sketchy on doing that. Like, it's one thing to do like animated production stuff, but there's a lot of personal work from artists on ArtStation. I'm a little sketchy on like using them on stream to use as like extended study fodder or something, you know. I think having them alongside me would be good. I'll try to upload them later for other people to use too, but. If you really want to see them, if you want to find a lot of the stuff that I've found, then you can go to my ArtStation likes folder, which I'll link in chat real quick. There's like an awful lot of artists I've liked that are the artists that are in that folder, and you can just go further into their art. I haven't necessarily liked everything I've included, but there's a lot of it that I have. So you can just go to my likes section and plumb through stuff for inspiration. I think that'll work best for that. So, almost done. I just got to copy paste a couple things real quick. Then we'll get started. Let's see here. Nation heads. Head skulls. I think that's good. Copy. Paste. Let me just check. I'm gonna check a couple of other folders real quick before we get started. Just want to see if if I throw one of my figure drawing things in here, if it's gonna be like stuff that might not work as well as head drawing. Yeah, probably not that. There's a lot of stuff where the heads are covered up. This might work better though. I'm gonna throw this in. That was a really good folder that I made last week, so I'm gonna throw that in too. All right. So I'm going to get a swig of water and then we'll get started. We're going to be doing timed head poses. They're going to be 3 minutes long. Actually twos. Twos might be good because then we can warm up just using that quick technique I was talking about. So let's see here. Where's my district on now? There it is. Why did it get closed? All right. So up in the head mixer folder. There we go. Set it to, yeah, I think twos. Twos will be fine for this. I'm just gonna make sure I get hydrated. I'll put on some music and we'll get started. I'm gonna make sure that I have my personal reference handy. Let's see here. Just gotta move my, I've actually got like the folders open on another window. Just gonna make sure I have a smattering of a bunch of like inspirational imagery so that I remember my head construction, my head drawing while we're doing this. All right, I think we're about ready to start. Look at this crawling chaos that happened with this demo that I was doing on screen here. Jeez. Get rid of that. And let me put on some music. and we'll get started. Let me know if the music overpowers my voice, so I can adjust the volume or whatever. But here we go. Okay, Google, set timer for 25 minutes.
25 minutes, starting now.
There we go. So use the folders that I linked to in chat, and try to utilize, like, you can draw from the reference, or you can try copying from the stuff that I gave you. You can kind of take it slow, just kind of play with the construction. You don't have to necessarily strictly follow the figure model that's up front. We're kind of like dipping our toes right now in how to construct heads. Like, you're not going to get likeness or accuracy or anything right now, but you're kind of like wrapping your head around using these techniques that you would use to track position of a character head in space, or construct the head for an animated character. Don't have to worry about accuracy. I'm probably being more sketchy than I should right now. That is a habit that I'm going to be trying to fight this evening, which is a habit that I've been continually trying to fight lately. Which is that I tend to oversketch when I can be using way fewer lines and thinking through my drawing a lot more. But that's always going to probably happen a little bit when I'm getting warmed up anyway, so. And the cool part is, because of the previous drawing stuff we've done here in other classes, a lot of the people who've been to the other classes have something to fall back on. Let's get some high orbits in there. A lot of people in here have something to fall back on if they get lost in the head. They can fall back on Loomis heads. They can fall back on the simple Asaro head, or even a little bit of the complex Asaro head, although we haven't practiced that recently. We're skipping doing the Asaro head right now, because I'm holding off on using the Asaro head until the physical Asaro head that I ordered arrives, and I don't think that's going to be coming for the next few weeks. But all my classes are going to be like this, kind of like this in the future, where we concentrate on pushing things in an animation-oriented direction. So that means we're going to be doing a lot more stuff kind of in this vein, where, like, the approach that we take to learning head drawing, and learning and applying head drawing, and learning and applying figure drawing and stuff, is animation-oriented. And we did some animation studies last weekend from the show Glitch Text, which turned out pretty good, which turned out pretty fun. Where we actually broke down a scene from Sakugaburu of some rough animation. Well, cleaned up animation, but still rough drawing from Glitch Text, to kind of understand it and make observations about it, to get it in our bloodstreams, so we can use some of the ideas in it in our own animation in the future. And we'll be doing more of those from other things. Like, anytime I see if there's something useful to learn something from in animation, we'll be doing studies like those usually on Saturday. But in the future, I'm going to be returning to demoing and teaching animation. It's our old friend, the Loomis head. So this is a good opportunity to kind of mix it up, and this is essentially a, I mean, like, if you look at, like, the heads from Sleeping Beauty, for example, you can track them by Loomis heads. Like, they were using the principles of Loomis head construction on some of the more realistic Disney characters from the classic Disney era. I'm gonna turn down that music; it's really loud. I'm still doing the sketchy line thing. I really gotta stop that. Let's see here. It's okay if I get like some spillover, but and especially if I erase it. But I've really got to. That's going to be one of my personal goals this evening: minimizing how much I sketch and I scribble. I'm trying to be more purposeful with my lines. Like I can have some sketching, and some going over the line a second time, but not like a huge amount. Because I kind of want to aim for more control and more commitment to the lines I make. That is a bad habit I've wrestled with, like this kind of sketchy, indecisive stuff that I'm doing here for my warm-up. I want to kind of avoid that this evening. Like I know how this stuff works, so I should be like practicing more accurate target practice or whatever. So on this one, I think the face would be a good one to practice the double ovoid method. Baron, I have no idea what you're talking about whatsoever. Also, that so-called CalArt style thing, it doesn't exist. I mean, have you seen that? What I think is going on there is a lot of people are easily swayed. A lot of dumb people are very easily swayed by a infographic. Because Gumball doesn't look any fucking thing like Steven Universe. And Steven Universe doesn't really look very much like Gravity Falls, for that matter. And those that kind of like so-called CalArts expression that they use in that infographic, you hardly ever see the characters, except maybe in Gumball, use that expression. It's such a stupid infographic. Like it's an infographic for animation design, like illiterates basically, and people who haven't really necessarily been paying that much attention to the show. They're just looking for a reason to be pissed off, I think. So dumb. The reasons for why they hate that style go into a lot of other stuff that is really not, I think, too stream appropriate. But it's stupid. It's not even a style either. I mean, it's just, some of it is basic cartooning that's been around since like freaking early Disney. They just noticed that, sometimes the characters do this kind of goony sometimes the characters do something like this. But that's not a style, that's just an expression, and the characters don't even use that expression hardly at all in the shows. In most of the shows, except maybe, like I said, Gumball, and maybe like Clarence does. But infographic, if you If you Google image search CalArt style, like the infographic will usually come up. It's a really stupid infographic that compares like Gravity Falls, Steven Universe, Gumball, and Gumball and what's it? Star or whatever it was. I forget the name of the full name of that show. Star versus the Forces of Evil or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, it's a blanket term for stuff people don't like. I think a lot of it is also like it's a lot of adults getting mad at kids shows, which is dumb in and of itself. And also it's a lot of like anime fans, like a lot of the people who do a lot of the trashing of so-called CalArt style are into anime shows that are like big. They're like do like same face shit with like the Cupid doll anime faces or the blank expressionless protagonists, male protagonist characters that just get grating and irritating. So anyway, we are just getting warmed up, so I don't mean to trash anime either, because there's a lot of anime I love dearly. Dorohedoro, Beastars, Promised Neverland, to name some of my more recent favorite shows. Keep Your Hands Up, Aizoken. I even like ReZero, even though it does some very tropey anime girl character design in it that I don't like. Somehow that show holds up because of the strength of the writing, in spite of the more annoying anime-ish elements of it. Let's see if we can find a good head in here. That's a pretty good head. Yeah, if there's a lot of stuff in like kind of late 90s 2D animated features like Iron Giant and stuff that I really feel like it's such like a missed thing. Like there should be Brad Bird wanted to make adult animated films back then, and he was trying to push things in that direction with some of the stuff that was going on in Iron Giant. I think we're kind of there now, but not completely. Like when I start seeing like I want to see like the the Western equivalent of like a Satoshi Kon or a Studio Ghibli or whatever. I mean, we get some bits and pieces of that, I think, in Love, Death, and Robots, for example. Like a lot of the people in that could definitely direct an animated adult-oriented feature film. Actually, no, there have been several adult-oriented animated feature films. They just haven't got the huge. They just haven't made in the West. I mean, they just haven't got a huge amount of attention. Series or animated feature films. Like I'd love to see like an emergence kind of Satoshi Kon of the West. Satoshi Kon for me was like an animation equivalent of Alfred Hitchcock when he was around. We need something like that in the West. In a way, I think we already kind of do have it, but it's happening in the video games industry instead of the animation films. Especially like a lot of the more mind-bending indie game titles. Oh, Heavy Metal 2000, Jesus Christ. Yeah, that film was kind of a mess. They were trying to pioneer that stuff, though, I mean. It's a valiant effort, but I'm looking forward to, I'd love like a series that like, I'd love to see an animated series that animated adult-oriented series that captivates people, like the same way that like Game of Thrones, in its prime when it was good, did, or something, you know? I'd love to see something like that happen. Some kind of mind-bending Christopher Nolan animated film, or animated series. Christopher Nolan-ish. Guillermo del Toro's been doing a lot of like TV animation stuff with DreamWorks, with the Tales of Arcadia, and with like the Troll Hunters and the Wizards and Tales of Arcadia spin-offs. But it's not adult-oriented at all. It's like, it's very kid and young adult friendly. Even a little bit too much, because like there's a lot of times where the characters get too, they act too much like they're stereotypes at times for me to want to spend a lot of time with them. Like I kind of just, there's some times when I watch that show and shows like it, like, oh god, just shut up and act like a human being instead of just like a bunch of like cliche tropes, you know. I mean, it's okay to like dip into acting like an archetype or something, or like making quippy one-liners and stuff, but they're like, when it's just kind of relentless, I kind of lose interest. Glitch text is kind of like that for me too. Like, every other line of dialogue is some forced video gamey reference that's just really irritating. Video game puns and stuff, and the characters act too much like archetypes at times. Like, they don't really have too much depth to them. There is some kind of character development mini arcs that happens in the show, I'll give it that, but it's really very kind of modern animation writing cliches. And it kind of bugs me. It feels like a missed opportunity to me. I think Gravity Falls has some of the most clever writing in kids animation, though. Haven't seen Owl House yet, but from what I've seen of that one looks promising. Infinity Train, I'm really interested in getting into, because I heard a lot of good things about the writing in that show. Kipo has a lot of good stuff in it, but there's some good depth to the characters, but I don't know, there's some things in it that are just not quite hitting the mark completely for me. I'd have to really think about that one, though. Kipo and the Wonder Beasts, I'm talking about, of course. Alright, so my attention's wandered a little, so I'm going to refresh my my reference windows so I can remind myself of what I'm going to be doing this evening. That's what you should do as well. on your own end. Like, keep cycling through the different images that are in that folder I gave you, or the likes section or whatever, and find images that you can kind of sink your teeth into to kind of wrap your idea around how you're going to be using these concepts for your head drawing. Well, that is not a head, is it? Try to get a good... That's a pretty good head, I'd say. I'm just thinking. I'm looking at a bunch of reference for Robert Valley and some other things. I only have 2 minutes to do these, so you don't have to worry about making perfect drawings, but trying to like insert at least a couple ideas. Like, I'm trying not to go on completely on autopilot while doing these. Another thing I'm going to maybe try tonight is try experimenting with inserting more shadows into stuff. Oh, that is not a head, is it? That is a head. Yeah, that's really weird proportion head that I just drew, but let's move on. Alright, let's see here. So I'm playing with kind of adding some shapes in, some 3D shapes in for the face. To make my own little cartoon version of Christopher Lloyd here. There we go, I'm starting to get a little bit more warmed up now. There's Donald. I'll try a really crappy off-model Donald now. Yeah. Okay, Google, stop. Yeah, actually I'll pause it on Donald Duck here. You can do whatever you want with your ducks. Don't worry about like not getting Donald on model, because there's a bunch of other rules and principles to his character design that you kind of need to see other model sheets or hear from people who've spent time animating him to really get. Like there's a specific stuff about the sweep of his beak and other things that is not mentioned here. But you can kind of wrap your head a little bit around it from the model sheet a bit, I guess. Okay, Google, set timer for 4 minutes and 30 seconds.
Sure, 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Starting now.
So one of the things I want to experiment with today, maybe I can... So I want to experiment with like adding in darkened areas, especially like around the eyes and under the neck, nostrils, mouth. Areas that'll make the image kind of pop a little bit more. It'll make it easier for me to read and for people viewing the image later to read. That's a habit I kind of want to maybe get more into in the future. Oh, I gotta stretch. Let me show you, like, after I get done with this stuff today, like tomorrow, I'm going to be messing with some other things. I don't know if I really want to do a lip sync demo today, but I did mention that there was a lip sync thing I wanted to show off. Let's see here. Was it this? I don't think it was this. This is a bunch of sketching that I was doing in Harmony, and some stuff from figure drawing class. Some other demo stuff. That's gotta be it. Okay, yeah, I did like kind of a crappy little warm-up sketch the other day. I like messing with, I wasn't really concerned about Spacedad design or anything. Okay, Google, stop. But this is like, this is me kind of getting warmed back into doing like lip sync stuff. We'll be getting more into this stuff in the future. In fact, like next week I may actually do some more stuff with facial expression. This will kind of lead into this. And our head drawing class might go in the direction of, here I'm going to show something on stream real quick, of doing like head drawing lip sync stuff. Here, let me find, there's a video, there's a couple of videos I wanted to show of some animation test stuff I did with head turns and some other things that I gotta find real quick. I'll share them on stream before we get back to our next set. Here, let me switch the focus real quick. I'll bring them up real quick because they're on YouTube. Just gotta find them real quick. I found one. Found two. I think there was a third one, but I guess not. Alright, so this was a head turn I did like a couple months ago, just when I was kind of getting warmed up back into things. I just did it kind of out of my head, out of memory. So we'll be doing stuff kind of like this in the near future, except, you know, well, better drawn than even I did, and probably with like more posing. This was done with not really any particular plan in mind. I was just trying to like experiment with turning the head in space a little bit. So this is kind of warm up exercise for me, but we might do some stuff more along this line as well. This is like a limited animation punch stuff, but like I said, like what's on screen now, like the lip pose, the mouth poses I have, this is like more or less all you really, this is more or less all you really need to like have the character say any line of dialogue in limited animation with mouth replacements. So I could like insert a dialogue, I could insert dialogue here and pose this out and have the character talk to it and stuff. Probably look a little bit more lifelike if I changed the expression of the eyes, and maybe if I drew out some more back of the head, because he's looking a little pillbox head right now, isn't he? But anyway, so I'm going to move back to, let's see. I'm going to move back to what we're doing this evening. And we'll get back to doing our timed head poses. So, okay, Google, set timer for 25 minutes.
25 minutes, starting now.
So remember, just keep loosening up, keep your reference handy. The animated reference I listed earlier. Cycle through the images and stuff to get like kind of a smattering of things, or concentrate on a particular page if there's something that you feel you need to learn a little bit more, like the Preston Blair pages are particularly good on like the animated character head construction. Just kind of get an overall sense of it. Remember to use the two ovoid shapes kind of intersecting sort of method for more realistic heads, or like kind of the ball method, or the ball method can be combined with like the Loomis heads that we've done previously too. next week we're going to be getting way more into animated character facial expression stuff. And that will also involve like a lot more copying from existing animation in time poses. I actually wanted to do that this time, but I think it would have been better. I think it's better to like kind of get people exposed to pulling back from the complex forms we've been working on throughout the last several weeks into something simpler, because you kind of need simplicity in order to animate and make animated cartoon characters and stuff. I'm doing a lot of chicken scratching again. I need to be decisive about the decisions I make. So I'm doing Johnny Depp's head tilted and showing the tilt with the ovoid that I chose to attach onto the ovoid that's turning away from us in space back there to the back of his skull. And add the ear here. And I'm not being accurate with it, I'm just kind of placing it like I would draw a cartoon character, sort of guesstimating based on the construction that I've drawn so far. I'll throw in like a center line here. But I can kind of guesstimate, I guess, his side plane of his head using like a Loomis approach, but I don't necessarily need to. Probably may throw the center line of his eye line somewhere around here. Brows about there. Right now I'm just kind of using this little bit clearer face to kind of reorient myself a little bit without really necessarily going for his likeness. So we got some Pinocchio heads here. This is going to be a little bit of a curveball. But remember, like, Pinocchio kind of has like a lower, kind of like a skirted version of like where his eye line would be. Maybe try inventing a Pinocchio head instead of copying one, or you can try copying one and then try inventing some. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can just kind of try to follow the same rules of what you're seeing here. He's got kind of like that hat that attaches to his head with an ellipse. He's got hair, that tuft of hair that's coming out. His nose is basically a cylinder attached to the front of his face. And it's inherently going to be off model, especially if you really haven't drawn this character before or very much. I've drawn him before, and I've gotten him out on model before, but that was like a long time ago. And he's deceptively hard too. But I drew him for a figure drawing class years ago when I was in college. They had us do something along the lines of what we're doing here, which is you have a bunch of model sheets near you and you try to use them for the figure drawing session. off-model Pinocchio. Alright, we'll do this samurai face here. I'm getting a little too sketchy for my own good again. I was on the Pinocchio drawing, I am on this, but as long as I keep remembering that I'm supposed to fight it, I'm eventually going to erode away and change that bad habit. I'm going to swipe some ideas from the Marble Valley model sheets on this guy. Some stuff from Frozen. So I'm going to try maybe stealing one of the faces here and then drawing my own character on it. One thing I'll get a little bit more into is brow line stuff. Like there's this whole kind of very dimensional area in this part of the face that you should pay very close attention to. And it has to do with how the eyes rest inside the face and how like you kind of sculpt the brow of an animated character. You can kind of see it on this sheet here. You can really see it on the lower left thing here, but whoop. Skip that. There we go, there's some more animated character heads. These are pretty simple. This is, because this character is a very young character, their eyes kind of rest below the eye line to give them kind of a larger forehead, to make them look even more youthful. Like a lot of traditionally cute characters kind of look that way too. One of the animators that taught me when I was in school is Dave. One second here. One of the animators that taught me when I was in school was Dave Brooksma, who was known in Disney as the King of Cute. For like being really good at handling cute characters in the 90s era Disney 2D films. Like he did Mrs. Potts in Beauty and the Beast, Angela Lansbury's character. He did the Sultan in Aladdin. Like anytime there's a character that's fairly cute, he would usually be the one in charge of that. Oh, get rid of that. Let's find a good one. There's a Nikolai Fechin head. That one's an excuse to really dig in with. You know, maybe the way I'm approaching this would probably work better with a bitmap brush. Because these are vector lines, so they tend to look more sketchy than they probably would if I was kind of ghosting in lines or something. So I'm just thinking about the head in terms of simple construction here. I'm not thinking about like the really complex stuff. This is a 2-minute quick sketch after all. I'm trying to think about it in terms of animation stuff. Like all I'm doing when I encounter a reference like this is just with a 2-minute sketch is apply some of the stuff that I've been applying to the animated characters on a realistic face. Yeah, I think that's a good one. Just gonna try distorting this guy's features a bit. Make something like a character out of him. Loosely based on some of the reference I have with me. Will Spacedad and Spacepug ever meet Samurai Man and Samurai Cat? I don't know, but that image kind of gives me the idea to do like a Spacedad version of that image of me holding Astropug. Just make kind of an orc or an ogre face here. Oops, I don't want that page. We want a better page than that. This one you can kind of make out, you can really clearly make out the head here, so dig in. This guy actually may want to yoink as reference for Spacedad. He has some kind of body qualities and face qualities that I may want to yoink for my own design purposes. Some very good heads on this sheet. Spending extra time on this guy because I really like him. And feel free to do that for your own drawings, by the way. So this guy shows off really a lot of what I'm talking about with that kind of pliable brow that you'll often see on, especially on Western anime characters, but you will see it on Eastern ones too sometimes, where you have this brow space with like the eyes that are resting three-dimensionally inside the head, kind of, and they've got this like kind of pliable brow shape, which is supposed to be like a simplification of a cartoon simplification of the brow arch, combined with the muscle and like the muscle that's moving around to move the eyebrows around above the nose arch, kind of. Like you can see like on some of these, like the nose arch is really pronounced right there. But on some of them, like it kind of vanishes a bit. On this particular design, some characters you will just see like a unibrow kind of shape with no nose arch. On this guy, it's important to his design, so you definitely include that little nose arch there, and that's where it is right there on this guy. But yeah, that pliable area of the brow line above the eyes that are creating this kind of like 3D pool inside the face where the eyes rest is very important. Oops, that is not a face. Skip that. That is a face. How does this work? Yeah, we do like 25-minute blocks of head drawing, and I do little demonstrations and stuff on the side or beforehand. And you just try to keep up and try to draw along, get some observational head drawing practice in and stuff. One of the ways you can kind of... Okay, Google, stop. I'll pause it on this side. Like, one of the ways you can like simplify how the head works is, or the brow line works, is kind of think about that unibrow shape, and then you can add in, you can sculpt in that little kind of brow divot, or the nose line divot, or whatever, later. Yeah, even if you come in partway through, there's nothing keeping you from just picking up a pencil and drawing along, to be honest. I'm gonna take a little bathroom break. We're on a 5-minute break right now. Okay, Google, set timer 5 minutes. Okay, Google, set timer 5 minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes. And that's starting now.
Our next set after this break will be threes. I'm going to be silent for a little bit while I have to go use the restroom, but I'll be back in a bit. Just in case I don't get back in time, I'm going to leave this running over here. Alright, I'm back. Okay, Google, how much time left on timer?
You've got 16 seconds left.
Okay, Google, stop. Timer. Okay, Google, cancel timer.
Got it, it's cancelled.
Okay, Google, set timer for 25 minutes.
25 minutes, starting now.
Alright. So we're back for another block. I believe this is the third one right now. We're going to be slowing these up more, and we might do some more extended studies or maybe some draw-over studies of animated character heads. I might need to do some draw-over studies because that'll force me to slow down a bit. Or I might bring up some past drawings I've done to kind of refine them a bit. Using some of the stuff that we're using tonight. Going a bit into autopilot here. Well, yeah, this is my drawing practice time too, as much as it is for anyone else here. I gave some demonstrations of stuff stuff for people to do, but you should be able to take this further than what I'm doing. For whatever it is you're studying throughout the week. If you're newcomers, just try to concentrate on really basic stuff. But this isn't to flex or anything. I'm not really flexing. I don't really have much skill to flex per se. Like, I'm trying to get better, so I can make like much better head drawing and much better figure drawing and much better animation in the future. That's why I teach these classes. This is also my drawing mileage time. These classes help me stay regular with my studies and practice. There's a skull there. You can use the principles of the double ellipse, and I'll show some of that in a little bit on the skull. Today we're actually kind of like playing it loose. Like we're having a little bit of time to kind of play with something simple, because we are going to be moving in a more animator-oriented direction, and I do have a curriculum regarding that, because we are going to be doing more stuff with animation facial expressions next week, and we will also be moving into doing lip sync and head turns and head poses and stuff, and head animation. So let's see here. I'm a fan of not, especially when I get a skull like this, of not doing like a perfect sphere. Like if you notice, I kind of did sort of the indication of the shape of the jaw on the underside there. And from there I can kind of work out the center line here, for example, and like the width of the eye sockets. I can get this 2-cylinder in here underneath the protruding nose bone there. If you're thinking about this in terms of an animated character, like there's your brow line right there. I'm gonna actually I'm gonna turn on my animator brain for the rest of this guy here and draw over him with let's see here. Or my cartoonist brain right now is going to be turned on for the rest of for this. Or I just have fun with the shapes. Try to make something silly. I'm gonna hold a little bit longer on this guy. It's an opportunity for the people who've attended my previous classes to get a little extra skull practice in, or a little skull refresher. Alright, we're switching to a new drawing now, or a new image here. There we go, there's an up tilt head. I'm gonna actually copy paste this into the drawing app. So drawovers are really useful to kind of reorient yourself a bit. Kind of felt like I needed to do this. Be a little quiet right now because I want to try something real quick. Let's see here. So I did a draw of her head as kind of like my starting point. And from there I could take something like this and try turning her head in different directions. Because I kind of have a reference point for how her head shapes work a little bit. I want to get a little bit of that in, and I'm ready to move on. Oh, only 26 seconds. So we're going to slow it down even more after this next set finishes. So we'll be doing 5s, and we'll probably even slowing down to like 7s or something. Don't know if we're going to be doing 10s this evening, but we will really be trying to kind of like not be lazy about this. I mean, we are trying to wrap our heads around like these very simple ways of constructing the face in terms of animation. But we want to not be lazy with it. Like we want to actually like put effort into really observing how these faces are built. Next week we'll be doing a lot of focus on like actual animated character facial expressions, and be doing time pose drawings from like a lot of choice facial expressions from animated characters, which is an excellent way to start to understand facial expressions, by the way, and different head types for that matter. Even for realistic draftsmanship, that's an excellent study tool. Kind of misplaced my reference here. I'm going to have to reorient myself to it again. That's not a problem though. Try to get Kyle MacLachlan's type a little bit better in here. He's got very pronounced cheekbones. And then he's got this kind of like thing going on here with this very square chin that's kind of sculpted around here, but I don't have time to dwell on that to make his likeness a little bit more pumped up. So we're gonna move on to let's find a nice, clear, realistic head. And not Christopher Lloyd again. That one was a little blurry, so I'm kind of shifting through here. That's a good one. Wanted to find one kind of like this because I have something in mind. I'm going to try. I'm going to be pushing the caricature of the face a little bit more. So that one was a little clumsy. I'm going to try to onion skin it and push the shapes a little more. I'm just dipping my toes a little bit into caricaturing the face a little bit. I didn't push it nearly as far as I wanted to. Let's get another nice clear head here. There we go. So I'm going to be playing more with pushing the face some more, so you're going to see me doing some caricaturing stuff that I'll be getting into in more depth in the future. But this kind of plays off the stuff that we were messing with earlier tonight. You tell them how to practice on facial expressions because this doesn't look nearly as emotional as the scene up there. When my goal would be to try to go beyond it a bit after I get more back into doing facial expressions. And also I was kind of getting caught up in the construction of the face a bit. But I can do this. Ghost it. I'm gonna try playing with it and pushing it in more cartoonish directions. Okay, Google, stop. Alright, the next set is going to be 5s. Okay, Google, set time for 5 minutes.
Sure, 5 minutes. And we're starting now.
So I'm super rusty at head drawing, but one of the goals that I have with this is like, what you're seeing here is me getting warmed up for what I'm going to be doing when I get back more into portrait drawing for like commissions and stuff. I used to do those a long while ago. I used to do like theme park caricature at Disneyland actually. So what you're going to see me getting reacquainted with tonight and in the future is some of what I used to do there, but I'm not going to be drawing theme park style caricatures. I'm going to be doing my own thing. And that's what I'm going to be doing for my commissions. Like my own unique approach. One of the well, there's particular ways that you go about doing caricatures at theme parks that are not very conducive to good head drawing, I would say, with some exceptions. Let's pause there. Also, I'm kind of sick of head drawing. Like I'm sick of theme park style caricature drawing. I don't want to do it ever again. Or if I do something like it, it will be like really, really pushed. I mean, like the better of the theme park caricature artists have been able to do like some amazing things, like Joe Bloom, who used to do it for years, who I actually met on the first day of my working at one of the theme parks I worked at. Joe Bloom, who's a fantastic artist. Let me show on stream the kind of stuff that he used to do. But it was like this kind of really, really wild stuff. And he was really good at doing them really fast, too. Because he had this kind of pliable understanding of the face. And he could get away with a lot of really warped facial expressions and stuff. Or, no, really, really warped facial distortions and stuff. And it's also, I mean, like, as goony as it is, it's still all based on an understanding of, like, the human head. That's a self-portrait of him, I think. I think that one is. You said, I should actually show these on, large here. He still will do these at conventions too, by the way. Like, he mainly works like in animated films these days, but he still does these for like I don't know how much he's charging for now, and he does them like super quick. It was 2007. 2009. Wow. That's neat. There's a YouTube demo of him right here. Joe Bloom paints a Bill Murray cartoon. That's cool. Well, anyway, so we're gonna get back to head stuff. Okay, Google, set timer for 25 minutes.
Done. 25 minutes added to your timer.
Okay, Google, add 1 minute 30 seconds to timer.
Done. 1 minute and 30 seconds added to your timer.
So, we're going to keep going with what we've been doing this evening. I'm going to be injecting a little bit more of like some of the caricature stuff I was talking about in what I'm doing. And I'll probably talk through it a little bit, but remember, try to keep like the basics of the head construction in mind. With like those eye lines, the spheres, the ovoids, and stuff that we've been doing. I'm going to be strategizing in the future of how to move this class. Moving it in the animation direction I think is fantastic, but I think that some of what I just showed you is also going to make its way into this. Because you should be able to play with like facial expressions and facial distortions freely and combine them with your knowledge of your growing knowledge of how the face works. Like an animator should have an ability to caricature a face and to invent. I'm kind of playing with this right now. Like, this is just a 5-minute sketch. I'm a caricature artist who's super out of practice, and so this is me kind of testing the waters here while I'm going over some principles of animation head drawing stuff. It's Crazy Clown Time, yes it is. It's a David Lynch song. That gum you like is back in style. I found out a bunch of interesting things about David Lynch's background recently too, of like, before he became a filmmaker, he had like there's like this film school in LA that he was able to like basically turn an entire, like, it was a film school that was run out of like this barn of a mansion, this like kind of horse stable, this unused horse stable of a mansion, and he was able to turn an entire like massive sized horse stable into what was first like his painting art studio, but then he turned it into the movie sets for Eraserhead later. So like most of Eraserhead was filmed inside that building. It's kind of wild. Like he got really lucky. Like they were like, yeah, you can use the studio space. You can use this area as a studio, and he was able to use it for like 4 years, I think, to like develop his skills at painting and eventually filmmaking without paying a cent of rent. And he actually lived out of there for a little while too. He also has some interesting things to say. Like David Lynch does like really kind of, hang on one sec, the music's really loud here. But David Lynch, like, he's a very abstract painter. So his paintings are more about kind of like a weird abstract idea or nebulous concept or evoking a kind of a mood, which kind of plays into what his films were like, really. This might be a good one to do a quick study off of, I think. Very, very bony face. So we have got maybe, I want to say, 1 to 2 more sets after this one. I want to thank you all for coming. If you want to support the stream, you can give me a Twitch Prime sub or a regular Prime sub. Send me a little few bits. You can also click the donation link down below for a direct donation link, or sign up for my Patreon to get image files of my class demos, and also the original files themselves too. You can also support me by watching the replays of my streams on YouTube. And I'm kind of going on autopilot right now when I shouldn't be. I'm going to get back to the drawing now. So one thing that's been happening with me lately is I haven't been able to get as much prep time before the class is in, which is fine for today. But I normally spend several hours prepping before the class to get really warmed up before I do the demos and stuff. Today it was fine to do that because this is really loose stuff that we're doing today. But I'm going to be trying to pace things out again to return to that. Or at least get more of the warm-up stuff the previous day. I couldn't yesterday because I really needed a break yesterday. Although I did get some sketching in. Head drawing is a good subject to kind of start the week off with. So I can tell straight away that I made this guy's cranial mass too small when I was on autopilot there. My head drawing in general is kind of sloppy right now because coming back sort of after a semi-midi break from yesterday. So I'm going to have to pay attention to that, especially in this last session or so. So I'm not trying to draw the whole head as accurately to the model as I can. I'm just trying to sketch this in, sort of remembering some of the things that we've done throughout the week, combine it a little bit with the animation head drawing stuff we've been doing. Maybe in this last minute I'll try to simplify the head how I would for an animated character a little bit more. Another Johnny Depp head. So let's see here. I need some reference to have handy for this. Now that I'm a little bit more warmed up, I'm just going to go for it. I'm sort of semi-concentrating now because I'm trying to get something a little bit nice out of this. Just to get a nice little 5-minute sketch out of Johnny Depp's face. There's a few key features in Johnny Depp's face that make his likeness what it is, and one of them is those bulging cheeks. Another is that his eyes are really important. I don't think I quite got his eyes here. Johnny Depp's eyes are very distinct. Also his nose. But his bulging cheeks and his big cheekbones are a big prominent thing with him. There we go. There's a dude with a pompadour there. That I could mess with for some Spacedad studies. I'll try simplifying it actually. So there may be some continuity between what we're doing here and on what we do on Wednesday. Wednesday, of course, will be the gesture drawing class, and we're going to be doing more of quick time poses and invented figures. But I'm going to be mixing in a lot more like reference from animated show poses and stuff. And I'll try to see if I can sneak in a lot of like animation heads and facial expressions too. So that we can start kind of like moving holistically in the direction of like animated characters with good expressions. So the practice we do. I'm really out of tune with this stuff and I need to get back into it. And you all should practice along with me. But I'll show you for comparison like what I'm able to do when I'm in better shape a little bit later. It's nothing mind-blowing, but it's reasonably competent. Some of it is. There we go. This one will be a little challenging for sure. Okay, Google, how much time left on timer?
4 minutes and 7 seconds remaining.
Cool, I think this is our last pose of this set. Then we'll do a 5-minute break, and then we'll do at least one more set. Possibly 2, but it depends. I'm trying to do a cartoonified version of the face right now. I don't like that shape. She has a very prominent chin. That would be something I would want to really try to execute right. Like the face mask of her head is extremely important to her design if you're designing this girl as a character. I think that's it on this set. I'm gonna pause it here. Okay, Google, how much time left on the timer?
15 seconds to go.
Cool. I think we'll finish up with maybe 2 sevens. 2 or 3 sevens. I think 3 sevens would be like good for our last set. Okay, Google, stop. So what you can do is, like, when you have previous sketches, you can go back through and add to them. A lot of these I got kind of caught up in like looking at the model, but I can go back through and like play with it and like embellish things and fix things and make the drawing stand more on its own terms. For example, erasing part of the chin there to make it look more feminine. Rounding the side of it there. I definitely want to go back here and like push Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp is one of the harder likenesses to get right, by the way. There we go, there's the David Lynch image again. Let's maybe see if I can add in some darkened lines here and there. not quite looking like him, but that's okay. I'm out of practice on getting likenesses and caricature. This kind of stuff you kind of need to practice every day. I'll be getting back into it. Because as we get more into animation stuff, we're going to be needing these tools. Not just to get the likenesses of these characters, but to invent our own characters. And to like break down models of existing characters and stuff. Like something like this, like it feels like a lot of the stuff is in the right place, but there's like stuff I need to eliminate and like chain and like analyze on his type. Kind of play with a bit. Well, we got some good head drawing this session. I think we're pretty close to our last session, our last set, which is going to be a series of 3 7s. So we're going to make these good ones. This will be our first. We're going to go a whole 7 minutes on this image here. I'm going to maybe loosen up a bit here. Draw like some Spacedad heads or something. One of the many bad habits I'm trying to break, well, I can only really break it by getting more practice in, is I tend to like slow up in a way that's unhealthy. That inherently is going to happen if you're drawing something you're out of practice on, or if you're unsure of something. But I was doing that early on here because I was coming back rusty, of course, coming back from the weekend, taking a day off drawing. Well, I did get some sketching in, productive sketching in. Yeah, well, I haven't hit that right balance yet of drawing for myself, although I did do some of that like this last week. There was quite a bit of drawing for myself that I did. And I'm kind of like working up my ability to like do like finished pieces and characters and stuff. Anyway, we're going to get started on the new set now. Okay, Google, how much time left on timer? I don't think I set a break timer. Okay, Google, how much time left on timer?
It looks like you don't
Didn't
have
think
any
so.
timer set at the moment.
One more set of 3 7s. Okay, Google, set timer for 25 minutes.
Alright, 25 minutes. Starting now.
So I'm actually going to maybe try something unusual with this guy. I'm going to try taking the basic shapes of his head and animating them in 7 minutes. Just like maybe like get 3 drawings posed out, kind of generally where his head is. Like really, really simple. Like there's no time for me to get caught up in details or anything. I have to think about things in terms of really simple shapes. So I've got more or less like my first pose, basically. I'm going to add the neck in because the neck is going to be important for this little and a head turn. So the next pose. Let's see. Just gonna push that nose in the previous pose. Okay, so next pose, let's maybe have him kind of turning to face the viewer, or yeah. Or no, I don't feel good about that. I'll try scribbling something and see what I can discover out of it. This. Not feeling good about that either. Maybe I should try it more like this. He starts in a profile and then he turns towards us. And this will be rough animation where I'm not really concerned with detail. Just trying to get roughly about what the volumes are for his head. So I'll add 2 frames here. I'm just kind of improvising right here. We'll move to another 7-minute face. There we go. So I just wanted to see what would happen if I just dip my toes into trying to break that down into animation. And maybe do something like that for this too. Instead of trying to make a fancy head drawing, I'll just get the indications of the head in. So some other thing about Kyle McLaughlin's head is he's got kind of this, in this photo, is that he's got kind of this sort of cape of hair that's in front of his face with his bangs there. Try moving around a cartoony Kyle McLaughlin head into different poses. So now that I got kind of a sense of his face a little bit, I can play with something like this. When I'm trying to get a likeness, you often see that me filling up a whole page with taking crack after their face. Yeah. There's a bunch of David Lynch stuff that I put into this mix. And now it's starting to look something a little along the lines of an animated version of Kyle MacLachlan. Would still need more work, but it's like something that's in the ballpark. That's workable. Alright, so next 7-minute pose. This will be our last pose of the evening. We're gonna make it a good one. Michael J. Fox might be pretty good to do, but let me shift through and see if we can find an even better image than that. It's a really good face, actually. I'll use this. I don't know who the celebrity is here, but that is a really damn good face. So I'm approaching this head a little bit how I might do like an animated character thumbnail right now. Where it's just like a basic head construction thing. It still follows the same rules as the other stuff we've been doing tonight. But it's just enough to get me like the smattering that I need to get the information in place. Kind of weird. It like basically took me all evening to get properly warmed up for how I would ideally like to start a session like this. But hey, sometimes these sessions start out with me not sufficiently prepped. So this is like where I would have want to been starting to teach the class at today, preferably. Like, hey. I'll see if I can get. We'll definitely see if we can get some workshop stuff tomorrow in with some even more head drawing in. And I'll be getting a bunch of like fresh head model poses to use. Head and figure poses. We'll be doing both. We'll do a workshop tomorrow. And then Wednesday we'll be doing the figure drawing, gesture drawing class. Wednesday's gesture drawing class, I'm going to try to see if I can yoink a lot of live action reference and then fuse it with animated character stuff too. And have some kind of continuity of what we did today with that. Got this dude here. I'm not too worried about getting a perfect likeness right now because I just want something working so that I can start like doing this kind of stuff with it. So now that I generally know what his proportions are from that original pose, I can pose out his head without having to draw the whole thing, just try to get enough of it in there. This one I'm going to throw out, actually. Don't need that drawing. Sorry about that. I had to take care of something real quick. Sorry. This is a little bit more close to approximation of his face, I'd say. And now let's see if I can get something a little bit more up, like, in that direction. A little bit more in the profile view. There we go. Took a whole session to get me to that point. But yeah. It's looking a little bit more plausible now. Let me read this out a bit, and I'll add some cushioning drawings in here a bit. And then we'll wrap things up. Actually, what I can do is this. Instead of messing with the eyes, I'll just do the head shape itself, like that. Just kind of playing with blocking this in for fun. Okay, Google, stop. Let's maybe throw that guy's face back up on screen just to have him there. So don't mind me, I'm trying to zone a little bit. I don't think that adds anything. So we got a basic super rough head turn here now. Let's see, I'll put these on 4s, I think. Each of these frames on 4s. Just to see how it looks. Then we will wrap things up. Okay, so stop at 98, start at 39. I think it needs one more frame about there. One more cushion frame, I think. This is kind of like a thumbnail test. Like I'm just going straight into, without planning, like trying to thumbnail out and animate. I think I know what needs to be done. Something like that. That might be neat. Then I'm gonna add a couple more cushion frames. Sorry, I'm just having fun just messing with this thumbnail test. So if you notice, I'm including like hardly any drawing construction in this, because it's just about like getting the impression of the movement. Like I can put the construction in later. Because this is a thumbnail test. There we go. See? Looks pretty neat, actually. Looks like he's like pausing to think about something before turning over to the right. I wanted to get something that looks like the character is going through some kind of emotional state or thought process in the head turn. However small, because this is improvised. But yeah, folks, we're going to be moving in the direction of stuff like this and better over time. That's why we're doing all this crazy head mileage and stuff. So let's export that as a GIF. What is that? That's 39 to 123. Okay. Cool. But yeah, knowing what I know about like drawing and stuff, like I could take like some rough, loose, sketchy thing like this and then work it up into like a better animation or whatever. I would come up with a couple key drawings and then fill in the gaps, basically, of like really thought out drawings based on everything here. Like the information is here. Like the information on the timing of the movement is there. The information on like what the tilt of the eyes are and stuff like that is there, even though it's like really slight. As long as it gives the impression of the movement, you can kind of riff on it and use it as a basis to like create the animated scene and stuff. Not like after doing like a kind of a thumbnail-y test like this, then I would go through and try to do the real animation. Or push it or whatever. So we're going to be learning facial expressions and stuff in the future, and we'll be able to do changes of expressions we'll be able to do we'll be able to get more into doing like changes of facial expressions, lip sync, and other things too in the future. Like head drawing Mondays will be part of that for sure. Some people use mirrors for facial expressions. Yes, they do. I'm going to actually be using a desk mirror in the near future. It's a crying shame that I haven't up to this point. Been forgetting to get one here. Anyway, that was a very interesting session. I'll do a quick plug for my Patreon and for my Ko-fi page. So my Ko-fi page is linked down below. If you'd like to support the stream, you can either subscribe to me on Twitch, or you can give it a direct donation. Oh, Spencer One's fantastic. I want to learn from him. He actually worked at the same studio I did for both of our first gigs, but I never met him when he was there. He does teach off and on at different places, and I want to see if I can get in on one of his classes sometime. Okay, and let's see here. All right, so we're gonna get ready to wrap this up pretty soon. Let's see if there's anything else I was gonna do. Oh yeah, I was gonna plug my Ko-fi page. So here's my Ko-fi page if you'd like to give me a direct donation. Right here, linked both in Twitch and elsewhere. And in my Discord, it's a link in Twitch in the Discord. And if you'd like to get high quality demo files and image files of the demos that I do tonight, that I've done tonight and done in previous classes, you can go to you can subscribe to me on Patreon, or you can here, 1 second. So I'm trying to get, hopefully in the future, monetized on YouTube, and it's going to take a lot of, like, it's something like I forget what the exact number is, but it takes I need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours watched. So here, here's my YouTube link. If you'd like to support me, you can just subscribe to my YouTube channel, and just watch and rewatch sections of the class and stuff for your own benefit or whatever. And it'll help me out because eventually I'll get monetized. Where I'm at with that is, let me see what the current thing is. Like, I'm not expecting huge revenue from YouTube, but it would be nice to get monetized, you know. It's just another thing. So so what I need is I need 1,000 subscribers. I've got 767 subscribers currently on YouTube. And I need 4,000 public watch hours within the last 12 months, and I'm currently at 887 public watch hours out of 4,000. So if you like to help me out, you can just watch my YouTube videos, or just run them on a playlist if you want. But yeah, I'll try to make playlists actually. I'll try to make playlists for, yeah, well, there's no ads on my videos currently, so my videos are not monetized, and they don't have ads on them. But yeah, like, I'll be making playlists of my previous classes in the future for easier sequential viewing. But, if you're interested in my videos, just go back and you can skim through some of the ones that seem interesting. Yeah. I'll be wrapping up here shortly, and we'll call it a night. So thank you all for coming. You guys made it to the congratulations screen.
Congratulations!
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 Thank you all.